Hey, just finishing this clean to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the 310th episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we'll go over the championship schedule. Since it kicks off today, we will make our picks and predictions. We're going to have Jordan Dubroff on. He's going to be down there at the bins today. I'll be covering 4A and 6A tomorrow, and then 7A on Wednesday. Naj will be covering it, Seth as well. We'll have game recaps posted after the conclusion of each one each day, so go to scoreatl.com and then be sure to check out coverage today. So let's go ahead. We'll bring on Jordan and get to it. What's up, Jordan?
Nothing much. How are you guys?
Doing well. It's nice to see you. So it's a little strange coming off the weekend, going straight into the state championships, but we got some good matchups. I know you're going to head down there today. So what do you think it means just to be back at the bins, and what are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to seeing some great games. We started the season off there with Corky Cow. I'm just looking forward to seeing some great state championship games today down there.
Yeah, and I was impressed because I think, with the exception of maybe Prince Ave, a lot of the teams this weekend went down and got to have a walkthrough to just kind of get acclimated. Do you think that playing in that big environment is a challenge that players have to get used to, maybe fielding a punt or trying to get the back setting? Do you think that's going to factor in at all, or just overall it's kind of built for this?
I think it's going to have some factors in it. They're going to have to get adjusted to playing indoors because they're so used to playing outside in the different elements during the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, some of the teams have played there. Walton has. But when you've never played a game in a big venue like that, it certainly is kind of a difference maker. So we'll see. But you're going to get to see some good matchups, including an opportunity for history be made in that Prince Avenue game. Aaron Philo's closing in on that all-time career passing record. How impressed are you with what he's been able to do, replacing receivers, but still just dominating the competition like he has?
I think he's amazing. I think he could break the record.
For sure.
If he could break it today, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so he's 300 short of tying it, 301 away from passing the record. I was looking at it. One of the only games he didn't hit that 300-yard mark, they won 70-20, and they didn't really need him the whole game. I have a feeling, like Prince Avenue, they're gonna do what they need to win the game, but they're gonna go for that record. And so Swainsboro, they've got to keep it close. And do you remember much of that matchup last year? Bailey Stockton, kind of Swainsboro having success early, but Prince Ave just running away. What did you see last year in that matchup?
I liked Prince Avenue in that matchup last year. They had a really good team, and I think they can beat Swainsboro this year in the state championship today.
Absolutely. And then Swainsboro lost some games late in their season. They ended up getting I think a number 2 or 3 seed. They had to go on the road, but they've been able to battle their way back. DeMello Jones, one of the faster players in the state, he's going to be playing both sides of the ball. And we've seen all season teams like Walton beating Carrollton, Creekside beating Warner Robins. We've seen teams avenge losses, but do you think the fact that Aaron Philo was young last year and Prince Ave's been able to replace, do you think that trend ends, or do you think Swainsboro is going to be able to capture the title?
I think Prince Avenue is going to be able to capture the title today.
Yep, and they are heavy favorites. I have it right here. Let's see. According to the Maxwell, they are predicting, well, it's not too heavy, 33-21. And Aaron Philo is sitting right now at, looks like 13,601 yards. So that is pretty impressive. So that game's actually going to be first, Class A Division I. We got the Bowden and Manchester game in the nightcap.
Yeah.
I know you saw the news last night. Bowden had a player that was found dead. That is just really tough, and it's hard to imagine what that team's going to be going through. But, I mean, how do you think they're going to try to come together and they're going up against Bowden, a tough opponent, but just to stay focused in the circumstances?
Their head coach is going to give them a really great pep talk and get them focused on tonight's game, and their whole community's going to probably be out there today to support them, and they're going to want to get the state championship in honor of that kid who they lost.
I completely agree. They're going to play very motivated. That was Brandon Smith, a sophomore offensive lineman. This is the only rematch from within the season. Manchester was able to win that one 21-20 in their opener, so they have that confidence. They know they can beat Bowden. So how do you think playing a team earlier in the season and then having a rematch, how do you think that's going to factor in just both coaching staffs kind of making new adjustments and trying to get more creative?
They're going to have to look over what they didn't do right in earlier in the season when they played each other and go back and make some adjustments for tonight in the state championship game.
And that win for Manchester, I think it was a huge deal because Bowden, they're coming off the state title. Manchester, they were ranked but nowhere near number one, and they actually won Team of the Week 1 of this season out of the whole state for that victory. And I think beating Bowden in the opener kind of taught that team that they had what it took, and that's carried them over the entire season. They've had great wins in the playoffs. And then what I find interesting, they've had 2 blowouts in the last 2 rounds, and they actually haven't attempted a pass in any of them. They have the ability to pass, but they're going to run by committee. Bowden, their offense is a little more balanced, but what do you like watching about a team that is just going to try to beat you with the run and just play a physical ground game?
It's exciting. I just want to see them. I just want to see Manchester go out and beat them really bad.
Yeah, I think Manchester, a lot of people are going to be pulling for them. It's going to be really hard for them. And I saw in the news release, the schools providing mental health starting on Monday. The problem is the game's on Monday. There's really no time to process it, and just horrible news to go from like the high to the low. It's pretty unimaginable, but I know coaches like Stephen Holmes, when they take the job, they know it's more than just the X's and O's. They're community leaders. They got to be there for their student athletes, and so that should be an interesting way to conclude day one. But let's move to the other matchups. Let's start in Class 3A with Cedar Grove. They're going to be back in the state championship after that crazy game last year. You've seen how many tough games they played throughout this season, and then they just beat Calvary Day. I mean, what do you think Cedar Grove just represents as a program where they can take their lumps early in the season, but then just show up at the right time and really get to the finals more than any team has in the last decade.
Cedar Grove has a really over there. I like it all year. Really great players over there. Really great head coach. I like what they've done. I'm looking forward to that game on Wednesday. It's going to be an exciting game to see them back in the state championship again this year. And I think they're going to pull off the win with a 41-21 victory.
Yep, they are heavily favored. And then Savannah Christians had a great season. They had a big win over Carver Columbus in the last round. Their offense is actually lighting it up this season, one of the more high-powered offenses. But then when you look at Cedar Grove, I think they have the reputation for being outstanding defensively. But this year, E.J. Colson at quarterback, Bo Walker, the UGA commit at running back, and then their skill players. I think the Cedar Grove offense has proven that it can play start to finish in a game. It can make clutch plays. It can control the ball. And then E.J. Colson going to UCF, he's had quite a career, and I think he might have a chip on his shoulder just after last year where he did everything right in the game. It just didn't go his way, literally outside of his control. I mean, Sandy Creek has the ball. The defense makes a stop. They call it a touchdown. So I know he can't really fault himself, but what about E.J. Colson that you've seen just stepping in as a young quarterback, but then being able to handle it this season as well?
He stepped up really good. I've seen a lot of videos on him. He's done amazing leading that team.
That's right. Yep. And we enjoyed covering them. I know he won that. I think it was player of the game back when we covered the Calvary Day one. Najee got to talk to him after, and that really was when he first started to take off in that playoff run. He's been outstanding. Let's talk about 4A, though. Did you see that Shaquille O'Neal visited Stockbridge last week?
I saw that.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. So the thing in that game says Stockbridge has a chance to become the first ever school from Henry County. There's a lot of good teams there. You got Ola, you got McDonough. Let's see, who else is in that Henry County? Can't think of it off the top of my head. But they'd be the first out of Henry County to ever win a state title. They actually are the first out of Henry County to ever appear in a state title. So what do you think that would mean for Henry County and the Stockbridge community to kind of be the first ones to take the crown?
It would be huge for Henry County schools. Same for the Stockbridge community. Stockbridge, we've seen them play in Great Atlanta Bash before, and they've had a talented team, and we got to see them play last year. They have a lot of returners, and it would be amazing if they get this win. I love what they've done over there at Stockbridge. They beat Westminster when they played them in the playoffs, and they had a huge win when they played Westminster.
Yes,
so
that one the season was on the line.
Yeah, and Stockbridge is going to have that would be a pretty cool history to have a first Henry County school to win the state championship in that county.
Absolutely. And then I think if they are able to get the win over Perry, which is an outstanding team as well, I think it's going to be a great matchup, one of the best this week. But I think Jaden Duke Scott, what he's done this season, when his numbers are analyzed after the end of the season, he already has 38 touchdowns. He's averaging well over 200 a game. I think if he's able to have a big performance, I mean, he's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of the Henry County football players. If he's able to lead them to wins over Benedictine, Westminster, and then to their first ever state title, I mean, he has really solidified a legacy just as a standout performer. He's been taking over 20 carries every game, and really people haven't seen how good he's been this year. But, I mean, he's had 38 touchdowns already. That's pretty incredible.
That is incredible. And he'll have some more tonight.
Yeah, 38 touchdowns. That's more than a lot of teams scored this year. He's got it single-handedly. So Perry's going to have their hands full. I think with them, though, they had to deal with a 5-week stretch. Their quarterback got hurt, and then they have Ahmad Gordon. He's had over 31 touchdowns this year. Well, he's had 31. And then they have the ability to really be creative in their passing scheme with culture. They can pass when they want to. But that is going to be the only matchup that's guaranteed to have a first-ever state champ crowned in it. Perry's never won. Stockbridge has never won either. And actually, neither has ever been to the finals. So what do you think that's going to produce in that matchup? Just two teams that are in the finals for the first time playing for it all.
The student section's going to be loud down there at Mercedes, and whatever team wins, they're probably going to do it like a small community parade or something. Either in Perry or Stockbridge, whichever team wins.
Absolutely. And then out of all the finalists, which ones are you kind of surprised that maybe you didn't think they'd be there at this part of the season? I think for me, when I look at 6A, Woodward Academy has really done a great job in the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to be able to get past Douglas County. I didn't think they were going to be able to beat Gainesville.
Yeah.
But you look at them, and I mean, Woodward has just kept winning. They're going to play Thomas County Central. What do you see in that matchup, and then the kind of season Woodward's had just in the playoffs, playing outstanding defense?
Woodward's done an amazing job this year. They had a lot of returners come back this year. Love the program over there. They've done amazing. It's going to be a huge win for Woodward if they pull off the win against Thomas County Central.
100%. And both of those teams, I think they're really confident in their defense. You see how Thomas County Central beat Rome. They kick 4 field goals. They chip their way back into the game. They get clutch stops, and then they win at the end. Same sort of deal with Woodward against Douglas County. They go down 14-0. They chip their way back into it with field goals. And so I think that game has a potential to just come down to the very end. Two defenses going up against each other. Basically just like a fast second half. And then whoever has the ball last. But you talked about the fan bases. When we were at the Marist Thomas County Central game, they must have brought, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 fans. So I think they have a chance to have the biggest student section where the whole town's going to come up. But what do you think about Thomas County Central representing South Georgia?
It's going to be a ghost town in Thomas County Central tomorrow. People are probably going to be tailgating in the Home Depot backyard on Tuesday for that game.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that one, and that is going to be a toss-up. And then what about Class 5A, this matchup between Coffee and Creekside? It's the only matchup that's the number 1 versus number 2. I think that's something that's only happened 28 times in the history of the AGC rankings. Two absolute powerhouses, one of the best offenses going up against the best defense this season. It's going to be right before the 7A matchup on Wednesday. Yep. How do you rank that 5A matchup just in terms of the better ones this year?
Creekside, Maurice Dixon has done a great job this season. Love their program. Love what they've done all year. We see him at Corky Co. every year. We also see him at the 7-on-7. They've had a great team, great program. They've had a lot of players go through the NFL, play in the NFL, and
Yep.
I think they're going to really pull off this win. It would be a huge win for them in the South Fulton County community for Creekside to get the state championship and pull off the win against Coffee.
You're 100% right, and the thing Coach Dixon has done is really challenge his team. They aren't afraid to play anyone. A lot of teams are afraid to put them on the schedule. That's why they had to go out to California to find a matchup. But I think the interesting thing, though, when you look at Coffee, that program has never won a state title before, despite being consistent and outstanding year after year. But their head coach, Mike Coe, he actually won 5 state titles at Madison and Florida before he took that job. So I think that's interesting. If you look at the head coaches this year in the finals, he's had more success in state championship games than anyone. And I know when I talked to Coach Coe last week, they're actually going to be there Tuesday night watching the Thomas County Central Woodward game, sitting in the stands, and then they're going to tee it up with Creekside. But what do you think, having like a coach that has been in that championship game scenario, coaching a team that's never won, do you think that balance is going to be good just in terms of giving them the right message and keeping them focused?
Yeah, I think it gives them a really great message. They have my coach, a really good coach. He's done a really great job turning that program around at Coffee, and it's going to be a great atmosphere for Coffee to, if they can get the win, that would be a huge win for that community. They'll do something big for that town.
Yeah, it would mean a lot. And when we were talking to Coach Coe, he was saying, because their defense has been so good this season, I think the most anyone's put up on them is like 14 points. They've been in control in every game, but he said his secondary, when they matched up with Cass, Sokovie White, Devin Henderson, they played Bulls, Florida. They have 4- and 5-star receivers. He was telling us that the way that his secondary has played this season's been outstanding. They aren't getting holding calls. They're in the right spot. They're fast. They're blowing up the screen game. But then you look at Creekside, I think they have one of the more versatile offenses. You got Vincent Berry playing outstanding at quarterback. Shane Kelly has gone off with close to 15 touchdowns. But then you have Roderick McCrary and Travis Terrell in that backfield. So I think it's a fantastic coaching matchup. Is their offense going to be able to establish itself against this Coffee defense? I think we're going to see it right away in that matchup, and then it's really going to play out fun. But let's go to the 7A1, because I just want to credit the Milton Eagles and commend the job that Coach Reeves has done. I actually talked to him a little earlier today. He was running into a meeting, but how impressed are you with what Coach Reeves has done? The fact that they were so young last year, they're competing in 7A. They end up falling to Mill Creek last year, but the way they've just gotten better as this season has gone on, how dangerous do you think Milton is in this Walton matchup?
I think Milton is really tough, but I don't think they can stop Walton. I think Walton's going to be able to stop Milton. Walton's going to get this win. It would be a huge win in Walton's school history to get a state championship win for the Walton Raiders. So Walton Raiders are going to win.
They're definitely favored in this one. I was thinking about it, going back to the offseason, what Coach Reeves was saying. He said their young team, they got that first taste of success last year, and he said they kind of relished in it. It made them more focused. They liked winning. They liked being able to hold their heads high, win the big matchups, get better, put in the work. And then he also said that they didn't really focus so much on the 7-on-7s in the offseason. They prefer the padded camps, which is interesting because they've got probably the best passing game, or one of the best in the entire state. And so here's what I was thinking. They've been pass heavy. They threw it 50 times last week in their win over Grayson, which I thought was a smart play. You can't really run on that Grayson defense or get outside. They're too fast. But do you think the fact that Milton has been pass-oriented all season long, I think that means they're probably fresh in the backfield, and maybe we see Milton do what they did against Roswell and try to control the ball and keep it out of Walton's hands. Do you think Milton has that capability offensively to maybe run more than we expect them to?
I think Milton does have the capability, but Walton has a really great defense, though.
Yep.
I think Walton's defense is going to be able to stop Milton.
Yeah, they did a great job in these playoffs so far and all season. I think they're going to be healthy. What player? I mean, Ashton Woods on that defense. You got Wendell Gregory, but who else on Walton has really impressed you this season, just during their undefeated run?
I like their whole defensive squad on their defense. Their defense is really good.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that Walton has been missing in previous seasons is depth at the secondary position. They've had good athletes back there. DJ Smith went to South Carolina. Darren Blaylock, Dom's older brother. But I think this year they finally have an elite secondary that has the speed. But, I mean, they're going to have their hands full because what Milton can do offensively, even within the passing game, they're so versatile. Luke Nickel, he's an underrated runner. He's proven that during the playoffs. Only a junior. He plays like a veteran. But that versatility with all these weapons in the passing game, they can go short intermediates. They can go to Ryan G, the tight end, and go to C.J. Wiley. They can throw it deep. So do you think Walton's secondary is going to be able to not commit the pass interferences and keep pace with Milton's aerial attack?
Yeah, I think Walton can do that. Walton can not get past Hawk. They'll be able to stop Milton. And if that is true, Walton can win this state. Communities are going to be a packed house. Walton started the season off in the state championship. We know their motto: win the opener, win the region, win state.
Yep, they have called their shot all season. And I just said last week, I kind of agree with them. He said if Walton doesn't win it this year, man, they might never, because this team is special. It's absolutely loaded. But I know Milton has enjoyed playing as the underdog. People counted them out last year when they had a rocky start, but they were so young. Same thing this year, but, I mean, they really are one of the more impressive programs, and I think it's going to be an outstanding matchup. It's the first time, I think, since the 1987 season that there's no South Georgia or Gwinnett County teams in the state championship in the highest classification. So do you think that signifies anything, the fact that you have a Cobb team and a Fulton really for the first time, just the talent that's been building in those regions?
Yeah, I think it's huge having a Cobb County and Fulton County school in the state championship, because we know South Georgia 7A football is really tough. Same with 7A Gwinnett schools are really tough.
Yep, and despite that stat, I mean, you still have to give credit to Gwinnett and South Georgia. Look at what Camden County did as a 3 seed, and then Grayson was outstanding. I think all of those teams are going to be phenomenal. What do you think with some of these underclassmen that are going to be playing in the big game this week, what that opportunity could potentially do for their varsity careers, just winning a state title early on with years still to come.
It's going to get them some more looks.
Yeah.
College coaches are going to want to have them come visit their programs, and it'll boost up their ratings.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I was actually thinking about this weekend. So the state championships got pushed back a few days. Normally they're played right after, like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so you already had Florida had their state championships last week. I think Alabama already had theirs. So I think that might – I mean, it's harder for fans maybe to travel during the middle of the week, but I think since other states in the Southeast already played their state championships, I think a lot of college coaches now have this week freed up. They're going to be able to come and see it in person. So I think the spotlight's even bigger. So, I mean, how important is it for some of these players is not only is it their last game, but with the ability to go out there and press and earn that opportunity to play at the next level?
I think all these players are excited. They're gonna be nervous at first, but they're gonna get the jitters out of their system and be ready to play some high school football in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
That's right. I think we covered every matchup except, I guess, Rockmart and Pierce County. What do you think of the 2A1? That one's going to be tomorrow, but just how kind of wide open that classification's been in recent seasons. Fitzgerald's been good. You got Cook in there. Fellowship Christian was in 2A, but basically just, I mean, how many different teams were contending for this title this season?
There were a lot of great teams in 2A. Rockmart's going to have a lot of community out there at Mercedes on Tuesday, and Rockmart's going to pull off the win. That would be a huge community for Rockmart.
Absolutely. And then last question, we talked about 7A. What do you think about the quarterback matchup between Jeremy and Luke Nickel? How important is it to have a big-name prospect at quarterback and guys with a lot of big wins under their belt already when you head into a big environment like this?
It's huge. Both quarterbacks are really good. We've seen Jeremy Heklinski played a lot of games on TV and in person. He has the confidence. He can lead this Walton Raiders to a state championship. He's led them in Mercedes. They beat Grayson and Corky Kell. They beat Carrollton. They beat every opponent so far.
Yep, and they did have that big comeback against North Cobb. I thought that was an interesting part of their season where they were banged up after the North Paulding game, did not play well or execute well, had turnovers, but then Cam Lloyd provided that spark, and it looks like he's going to be good to go. He got banged up in the last game with a shoulder sprain, I think, but he'll be good to go. So it looks like all these matchups, the teams are generally healthy. They're all peaking at the right time, and we can't wait. So, Jordan, what time are you planning on getting down there?
I'm about to leave my house now to head down there, so it's going to be an exciting day today, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
You bet. All right, well, have fun, Jordan. We'll see you down there.
See you down there.
Yep. Thank you, Jordan. All right, so that's Jordan Dubroff. He's going to be down at the Benz day one as we get things started. Kickoff of the first game is going to be at 2 p.m. That is Southeast Bullock versus North Oconee in the Class A through 4A flag football. Then you got the Class A Division I at 4, Class A Division II at 7, and that concludes Monday's triple header. There'll be 4 games on Tuesday and Wednesday. But let's go ahead. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
All right, welcome back. So Jordan made some of his predictions in that segment. I think he's very confident in Walton. I obviously have them higher ranked than Milton. I am going to pick them in the matchup, but I'm telling you, do not sleep on Milton. That is a tough football team, and I think the key to watching that one is they haven't had to run the ball a lot this season, but that means their running backs are fresh. They can get creative. They're already very versatile offensively. They can spark the big play. And if they can find something with that balance, expose a weak spot, and control the football, I think that's the formula to shock Walton and get that win. And I think a lot of people around the state, Walton's a great storyline. They're exciting to watch, but there's a level of respect for what Milton's been doing the last few years with Coach Reeves, the success they've had in the region, the dominance, and then really just how it's a young team that went out there last year, kept that Milton standard, and then this year has gotten back to the finals. I mean, it's really impressive, and I think it is going to live up to the hype and be one of the better matchups we've seen. So let's look at some of the latest notes just about the matchups heading into kickoff. So we mentioned Manchester, the news right there. In terms of updates, it says Manchester player found dead Sunday. Manchester sophomore Brandon Smith, a day ahead of the state championships. We are heartbroken to hear the news of the tragedy of one of our students, stated the letter released by superintendent and Manchester principal. Manchester High School's celebration of playing for the Georgia State Football Championship has unfortunately turned into something none of us could have fathomed. The letter describes Smith as a loyal teammate and friend who excelled on and off the field. His varsity career was just getting started. Smith had been reported missing Saturday. I think a post went out, and then they found him on Sunday. There was a investigation. I think it happened right around the corner from the Manchester Police Department. It says there was a scene. They requested the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to come and assist in the investigation, and it's a half a mile from the high school. So very tough situation, and they're going to have to go up against the defending champs, who they did beat in the opener tonight. So I'm sure they'll be talked about a bunch. There'll be tributes in that game, and just a truly unprecedented, unimaginable situation to happen right before that. So definitely that's going to be something to watch for. All right, so what's returning to Mercedes-Benz going to do for the state championships? One, it's freezing cold outside today, so that's good. They're inside. Two, obviously it's going to be the introduction of video replay. The way it works, because we haven't seen it this season, is strictly for the state championships. It's not going to be coaches challenging plays. There's going to be someone in the booth. It's an extra official that was trained in the off season to have communication with the guys on the field, and he can call. So it's not, what was the term? It wasn't instant replay. They called it like video review, I guess is the correct term. And so let's look a little more into it. Okay, the finals are being contested in the Atlanta Falcons' home for the first time since 2018. It's been at Georgia State's open-air Center Parc Stadium the last few years. The average attendance was 27,400 last year. That was the average at Georgia State. It peaked at 35,000 last year. Big crowds for that 7A game to watch Carrollton Juju go up against Mill Creek. It was an excellent crowd. In 2018, at the Benz, the 8 championships drew 40,462, and it was also played during the weekdays. They had to move that one because actually during that year, 2018, that was Atlanta United's first season they didn't make the playoffs, and they had to move that. Let's see. Seeing how well they did midweek, the GHSA gladly settled for that as its only option, as the Benz was booked for the weekend. And I mentioned, I think, having it after those other states concluded, I think more college coaches are going to be able, as a result of that, to come check out these games. And it helps that it's at the Benz. They'll be easy to accommodate. And I think we're going to see a lot of them in attendance. All right, video review for the first time in championship history. Video review, so not instant replay. Video review will be available to change on-field calls. Head coaches will be given 2 challenges per half and get 1 back on a successful challenge. The press box official can also initiate a review. So I think that's what we're going to see, if anything. I think that's more likely than a coach having to challenge, but I think we're going to see both. But I think more times than not, it's going to come from the booth. They're going to want to make sure they get it right on close calls. Only in the championship football games is video review now allowed. All right, newcomers, Perry and Stockbridge are the only first-time finalists, and they'll be playing for the 4A state title Tuesday. Perry is in its 70th season, a record wait for a first-timer. Stockbridge is in its 60th season. We mentioned that was the 6th longest wait to make a finals in state history. Perry and Stockbridge join Walton in 7A and Coffee in 5A as the schools that can win their first ever state titles. The other ones that haven't been in a championship game in a long time are Woodward Academy, going back to 1980, Manchester 1997, Thomas County Central 2002, and then Swainsboro, a 2022 runner-up last year, hasn't won since 2000. Rockmart's trying to break its drought that dates back to 1950. They have made it back, I think, in the last 5 years, but that is a long drought. All right, defending champs, that's opposite Prince Avenue Christian and Bowden. They are the only 2 defending champs in the finals and the only teams ranked number 1 in the preseason that are in the game now. There are no real long shot finalists this year, as all 16 were ranked in the preseason. And it's funny, I went back and looked at my 7A preseason rankings, and I had Walton number 2, I had Buford number 1, and I actually had Milton number 3. And then they didn't look good against Collins Hill, lost a out-of-state game, and then I dropped them really low. But I had high praises on them early heading into the season, and so they definitely validated that. But I had forgotten how high I had them ranked to start the season, and then I should have kept them high, but I kind of punished them for those early losses. But nonetheless, no other number 1 preseason teams. How they got there, most of the 16 semifinals were won decisively, but 3 depended on fourth quarter touchdowns. Bowden's Kyler McGrin threw a 35-yard pass to Devin Powell with 5 minutes left in their victory. Perry had another clutch comeback win late in a game that had multiple lead changes, a 61-yard touchdown to Corey Pettigrew over Stars Mill, a team that won on a Hail Mary against Central Carrollton the previous round. And then Swainsboro's DeMello Jones came up huge with a 61-yard touchdown with 7 minutes left in their victory over Brooks County. In terms of the top prospects, a lot of names you guys already know, but we'll start with Manchester defensive lineman Justice Terry. He's one of the more higher rated players that will be playing today. And then obviously you have Aaron Philo at quarterback in the Class A Division I game. And in this right here, so the best game according to today's breakdown is Walton and Milton, the finalist in the highest classification. They have several major Division I prospects, including the quarterbacks, each with about 3,700 yards passing. Walton is in the top 25 of 7 national polls, the first Georgia team ranked in all of those. Milton is ranked top 25 in 2 of them. And now that I think of it, there was that one national poll that I think they had Milton at either number 8 preseason nationally or as high as number 3. So once again, that slow start to the season, they had to kind of adjust and evaluate, but I mean, the talent was always there. It's the first final in the highest classification since '85 that doesn't include Gwinnett or South Georgia. And then let's just talk real quick about the flag football. A flag football championship will serve as the opener each day. The finals today will be North Oconee and Southeast Bullock. I think Southeast Bullock's the defending champ. You have Greenbrier and Lithia Springs on Tuesday. Greenbrier is probably the highest scoring team in these state finals. Lithia Springs is the defending champ. And then you have rivals Allatoona and Pope on Wednesday. The sport remains one of the GHSA's fastest growing. A lot of these girls excel at other sports and have picked this up, and they really do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun for them, and it's just awesome to see. You'll see a soccer player out there playing receiver, and so a lot of crossover that you don't normally get to see on the girls' side with athletic skills, going from one sport to the other. The number of teams in 4 seasons has grown from 91 to 188, and now it's gone from 223 to 247 schools have teams. Lithia Springs and Southeast Bullock are defending champs. Southeast Bullock is 62-0 all-time in the sport. And fans going to the bins, you'll see now next to that big helmet wall, there is a display to honor flag football. And it mentioned that this is the first time the state championships have been played at the bins since 2018, but they actually reached out, and when the sport was created 4 years ago for the first time, they were hosted at the bins in the Home Depot backyard, so they are used to that venue, and it should be a lot of fun. So that will kick off in an hour. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with a special episode of Underrated and Overlooked. We got obviously a ton to break down. We'll talk about today's matchups, preview some more, and go over some college recruiting news, NFL news, and all that. So we'll see you tomorrow. Good luck to everyone.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. Yes, you can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.